truthful, we had very little time for organizing this festival. In between, we had to also make this documentary. So let me tell you that we haven't made the complete effort of making this documentary have all the facts and all the things in the right way. And since everything was done in a hurry, we couldn't get back to many of people to get their permission to include many of things. So I look forward to your suggestions, to your feedback, to improve on what we have done. And let me say to you today that we at Bansi Bilash are looking forward for cooperation from all quarters to take forward this style of Odissi. And mostly we will all, the most important thing is that we are giving more thrust on the documentation of his style, because we feel so jeopardized today that we don't have any video clippings, any color photographs of Guru Deba Prasad Das. So I also request people who are with organizations who are looking after the uptake of this cultural heritage of India to also have, be a little thoughtful about this style of Odissi and help us take the style forward. Thank you so much. I would now request Srimati Leela Venkataraman to speak a few words on Guruji and then take forward this morning session. Thank you so much, Leela.
After that beautiful documentary, there is very little that remains for me to say. When I heard in 1986 that Guru Deba Prasad Das had passed away, I must confess to a feeling of sadness somewhere inside me, that a man who was very creative and who helped put Odissi on the Indian map and on the international map did not get the kind of recognition he should have got in his lifetime. You've seen from this film that he was barely 2 years old when his mother Indrama died, and the father, as a police inspector, had no use for a son. Bringing him up alone, he sent him to his maternal grandfather, who was not only a violinist, but who I think was part of a roving theatre party which went around from village to village. And at a very young age, I think Guru Deba Prasad Das was exposed to a lot of images of music, mime and dance, which remained a part of him. When he was sent to school at the age of 6, he managed to play truant, and he was usually found in the akhada of Mohan Chandra Mahapatra. Mohan Chandra Mahapatra knew that he was not a regular entrant to the Gotipua institution, but he realized that the boy was very interested, and he allowed him to remain and watch and learn. So he learned there till he was about 14 years old, when he joined the New Theatre Group. And in the New Theatre Group, there was a dance director called Ajit Das, who was not particularly well disposed towards this youngster. And he felt that he had no talent whatsoever. So what Deba Prasad Das was asked to do was to do the daily chores for the grand sum of 1 rupee a month. And he was also allowed, if he was on good behavior, a pocket money of 1 anna. In those days, 16 annas made a rupee. But as luck would have it, Guru Pankaj Charan Das was recruited to the New Theatre. So Pankaj Charan Das, perhaps coming from the Mahari line, realized that here was a youngster who had some talent in him. And Guru Deba Prasad Das was always fond of telling me how he made him do what was called, I think, some kind of a bandhana, an arati dance, where he used to come with a little lamp, walk very gracefully onto the stage, where the image of Saraswati would suddenly sprout out of a closed lotus which opened out on the stage in a very dramatic fashion. And that was all he was asked to do. But he was paid about 7 rupees a month for that. Later on, he went to Annapurna A and B. But the advantage in all this was that he had been exposed to both the Gotipua tradition with the Bandha Nrutta and all that it entailed, and also the Mahari tradition, which he was able to get from Guru Pankaj Das. When the National Music Association was started in the year 1949, I think, in 54 they had a dance department. And Deba Prasad Das was one of the first gurus to be recruited there. And it is for the National Music Association that he produced a lot of work. One of them was also Manini, the first dance drama that Odissi has known. And of course later on a lot of dance dramas were produced. But that was the very first production. And it was produced in Sapru House with Deba Prasad Das playing the lead role. And sitting in the audience was Indrani Rahman. And she was so utterly charmed with this dance. I mean, earlier she had heard about it because in 1954, when Priyamvada and I think Dhirendranath Patnaik also came along with her. Both of them came and took part in the youth association here. It is Deba Prasad Das who had conducted the recital. So people for the first time had been exposed to this dance. But when Indrani saw this in Sapru House, she went backstage and she requested Deba Prasad Das to accept her as a student. And he agreed. She went to Puri. And 8 months later, after learning from him, in a very small gathering in her own house, she presented the first performance, and there were people like Charles Fabry, Kapila Vatsyayan, and so many others sitting there. And they spoke very highly of what they had seen and wrote about it also. And in 1958, when a lecture demonstration was given by the Sangeet Natak Academy, in which Deba Prasad Das also participated, Odissi had been accepted as a dance form to reckon with on the India map. And of course, the rest of it is history. He went all over the world with Indrani, and all sorts of places in the south, in Travancore, in Madurai, in Russia, in what was then USSR, parts of Europe, everywhere Indrani danced. He went along with the troupe, not as a guru, but as a very valued member who would come in with little relief items like a fisherman's dance and hunter's dance and Narakasura and things like that, which used to be done as part of Odissi in those days. Now, when he came back in 1963 and 64, he joined the Utkal Sangeet Mahavidyalaya. I think he realized that he had lost a lot of time, because in the meanwhile, people had been training other students, and there were lots of young Odissi dancers who had taken over the entire stage, and he found that he had been left behind because he was away from the country. He was part of the Jayantika effort, which was sent up in 1957, but I think after some time they found his uncompromising nature a little difficult to deal with, and he was never able to get on with all the gurus in that get-up, and more or less remained away from the whole thing. Now, I have seen him teach Vijay Lakshmi Mahanti very often in his house. I happened to be in Orissa at that time, and I used to go to his very humble dwelling and watch him teach this girl. And at that time, she was going through utter privation. I mean, she'd lost her father, she had no money, she was a beautiful dancer who used to do Bandha Nrutta, which again was taught by Deba Prasad Das to some people. But she had reached a stage when she could not even keep the wolf away from the door. And that was a time when my husband happened to be in an important portfolio. And he recommended, through the good wishes of the chief minister or the governor, I'm not very sure, monthly remuneration of about 600 rupees for this girl to be able to practice dance. But of course, once he left the chair and somebody else came there, this was promptly cancelled, and that was the end of it. And very soon, Vijay Lakshmi's career also came to a very, very sad end. Now, one of the things I used to see him tell the dancers was the chauka, which was so important in Odissi. And he would insist on the very square stance. And whenever Vijay Lakshmi tried to bring the two knees together, he would say, Konmo, Jagannath kemti bosichanti. Does he put the two feet close together? Bharatanatyam oliya karibo nahi. Odissi oliya karibo. Now today you see this happening more and more. People try to bring the two legs to feet together. He would always say that the square stance had to be maintained. And while doing the Brahmari, he was very particular about the level of the dancer being maintained. He said, you cannot rise up and then come down again after you complete the Brahmari. You be in the seated posture, you take the circle and be at the same level. And I have seen him put Vijay Lakshmi through her paces over and over again in order to perfect this. In anything that was tailored and worn on the body. And he believed in a very reposeful kind of speed. He said, says all these deflections of the body will be spoiled if you dance too fast. And this is a dance that has got to be done at a slow pace. You cannot have fast dancing. He was very, very particular about that. And this Shabda Swara Patha that has been talked about is something like our Kavutvam, which used to be performed in the Guwahati and some other temples in the Sambalpur district. They had a kind of a ritual where they had this Shabda Swara Patha thing which used to be woven into the ritual. And he used to go around collecting all this, and this became a part of the dance. And he was very open to ideas. I mean, it was his entire creativity was totally rooted in the Odissan identity. And he said, I will not go outside Orissa, but within Orissa, whether it's folk dance, tribal dance, anything that I see, if I can bring it into the grammar of Odissi and make it richer, then I will certainly do so. And there are lots of people today who are continuing in this line. He was not a diplomat. Deba Prasad Das never was. And quite a difficult man to get along with, which is, I think, one of the reasons why he didn't get the sort of support that was necessary. I remember when Vijayani was given a chance to go to France to perform. He happened to be in the Utkal Sangeet Mahavidyalaya as a lecturer. They wouldn't give him permission to go with her. And they said, you cannot leave this post for 15 days and go, you will lose it when you come back. And at that time there happened to be a seminar on Chow when Kapila Vatsyayan came to town, and I approached her and I said, Kapila ji, can you talk to the head of this institution and ask him to spare Deba Prasad, to spare him for a few days to go with Vijay Lakshmi Mahanti. She said, I would like to, but I find the whole officialese is so hostile that I'm not able to do anything. So there was this problem that Deba Prasad Das was battling with all the time. I don't think he was a very easy man to get along with. He was very uncompromising. He stuck to what he believed was right. But I'm glad that after his death today, there are a lot of young people who are trying to do their own work in different ways. I don't say that what he preached is being followed today, because you have the same speed that you see in the other schools, and a lot of other new things have come in, and things will of course have to change with time. Nothing remains the same. But I'm glad that so many different versions of this style are creeping up today, so many manifestations with students doing their own work in different parts of India and also outside. Now with that, I think I'll end up.